Hey everyone, I'm Andy and this is Easy Tiki Drinks. And today on the channel, we're going to be taking a look at a cocktail that is befitting of any sailor. We're going to be looking at the Dawn the Beachcomber Classic Navy Grog. So let's shake it up. So the Navy Grog is a Dawn the Beachcomber Classic Tiki cocktail from the 1940s. It is up there in the upper echelon of cocktails with the Zombie and the Mai Tai and a couple other ones. It's got all the significant Dawn the Beachcomber flavors. It's got a blend of rums, it's got honey syrup, and this is my take on it. So let's see what we're gonna need to build this cocktail. First, we're gonna need aged Jamaican rum. Next, we're gonna need aged Demerara rum, honey syrup, grapefruit juice, lime juice, and club soda. The aged Jamaican rum I'm using is Smith & Cross. The aged Demerara rum is Eldorado 12. The honey syrup is a rich 2-to-1 honey syrup. The juices are fresh squeezed, and the club soda is from my soda stream. Now, one of the key things about the Dawn the Beachcomber Navy Grog was actually how it's served, and we'll get to that once we make this cocktail and go over the history of it. You'll get to see exactly what I'm talking about. And honestly, it was my first attempt at it. I have no idea how it turned out, so we're gonna find out together. Anyway, the term Navy Grog comes from, well, grog. And grog was associated with Admiral Edward Vernon. Now, in the British Royal Navy, what they would do is the water would spoil, so they'd carry rum. And they would give each sailor a ration of rum, one in the morning, one in the midday, and one in the evening. Now, Admiral Vernon, the smart guy that he was, kind of realized that, 3 shots of rum throughout the day probably does not lead to productive men or safety on the rigging. So what he decided to do was dilute his rum rations with water. Now what did this do? Well, it did 2 things. One, it lengthened out the amount of rum that they had, and it helped to preserve the water. The alcohol in the rum would kill any bacteria in the water, which means that the water that they carried on ship would last for much longer. Now, also on board, each sailor was given a ration of salt. Admiral Vernon said, hey guys, listen, you can trade in your ration of salt for a ration of sugar and a lime. And that's what they did. They took their ration of rum and water, traded it in their salt packet, got sugar and lime in return, and that's where grog comes from. It's simply water, rum, sugar, and lime. Sounds a lot like a daiquiri, to be honest. And this Navy Grog is much different. Speaking of which, let's build this. First, we're gonna need 3/4 of an ounce of our lime juice. Three-quarters of an ounce of our grapefruit juice. An ounce of our honey syrup. An ounce and a half of our aged Demerara rum. Just double checking to make sure my jigger was an ounce and a half. I don't typically use it, but it seemed perfect, so just wanted to double check. It is an ounce and a half. And an ounce and a half of our aged Jamaican rum. Now normally on the channel, at this point I say, go put some crushed ice into your shaker. But that's not how this cocktail is served. So let's take a look at how this cocktail is actually served. And for that, I need to run to the freezer and I will be right back. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna move this out of the way. We're gonna move this out of the way for right now, and we're gonna put our rocks glass right here because I'm gonna need this to hold this. This is an ice cone. I think. So this is similar to what the original Don the Beachcomber Navy Grog was served on. Not crushed ice, but an ice cone. And hopefully this is gonna fit in my rocks glass, like so. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna cap this into our shaking tin. Give it a nice little shake. Make sure we incorporate everything. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna pour this over our ice cone. All right, and then the straw goes right down the middle of that. Perfect. So the concept here is that the ice cone is wrapped around the straw, which means that it chills the cocktail as it goes up the straw without actually diluting it. So how do we dilute this thing? That's where the club soda comes into play. So we're gonna take this club soda, and we're just gonna top it off. And there's our dilution for our Navy Grog. And there you have it, the Don the Beachcomber Classic Navy Grog served with an ice cone. Now, this was my first attempt at making an ice cone, and it was a little sketchy. I had to crush some ice, use some wax paper and a funnel. You can actually buy the ice cone mold, but honestly, I didn't want to spend like $15 plus shipping for one cocktail. So I decided to try and make my own. There is some room for improvement, and maybe I'll do a video on this later. Speaking of which, actually, if you would love to see a video on how to do an ice cone, comment below, let me know. If you do want it, I'll make it. Anyway, let's give this a try. It's not as cold as I'm typically used to with a tiki drink. It's getting there, don't get me wrong. I mean, that ice cone is really chilling that drink down very, very fast. Just not quite there just yet, but it's still good. The club soda lengthens out all the flavors. The honey syrup is a little dominant. And then the aged Jamaican rum does shine through with the funk. I'm missing the Demerara rum. I thought I would taste that a little bit more, but it is a little lost in this cocktail. It's good. It's not my favorite. And again, the honey syrup in this is pretty overpowering. It's kind of the dominant flavor that I get, which isn't always my favorite, but that's okay. Anyway, there you have it, the traditional Don the Beachcomber Classic, the Navy Grog, served with an ice cone, inspired by Admiral Vernon's own rum ration version of grog. Although I think this one might actually be a lot more potent and definitely more flavorful. But anyway, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please make sure to like, subscribe, click that little notification bell, follow me on Instagram and TikTok @EasyTikiDrinks. I think that was the fastest I've ever done that closing. Anyway, that's it for today. Till next time, take it easy.